started this semester, and it will continue into the summer. After this semester is over, the faculty, the museum staff, and our docents will take up giving art talks every Wednesday at noon. We will be moving it to noon and not 12:15. And I want to remind you that if you come to our little art talk, you are entitled to a free cup of coffee or iced tea in the cafe. Just let them know that that you were here. This is our, I feel like she's our own. She's been an intern with us for a long time. This is Kathy Jenkins. She is a senior double major in anthropology and art history, and she's here to talk to us about Anne Goldthwaite's Portrait of a Young Man. Thanks, Kathy.
Good afternoon. The work of Alabama native and influential American painter Anne Goldthwaite remains significant to the intersection of local and national narratives in this country, particularly at the turn of the 20th century and on the cusp of modernity. Much of the content of her work, from landscapes to portraiture to genre scenes, alludes to the emerging formal concerns of modern European art while attempting to develop a uniquely American voice, namely through the lens of the American South. Goldthwaite was born in 1869 in Montgomery, Alabama, and later died in 1944, several years after she made her last landscapes and genre paintings in the South. At the age of 23, she moved to New York City to attend the National Academy of Design. In 1906, she moved to Paris to study and further engage in the art scene there, where she made friendships with notable writers like Picasso, Gertrude Stein, and Matisse. Goldthwaite returned to the U.S. in 1913 to showcase her work in the now famed Armory Show. She taught at the Art Student League of New York for 23 years and remained a permanent resident of New York City. However, she continued to take annual summer visits back to her home in Alabama. While there, she sketched and drew rural subjects and scenes from nature for her paintings. Goldthwaite's relationship with the sitter and the formal qualities in this particular portrait serve as a point of entry into the tension during the early 20th century between assimilating a range of European artistic influences while cultivating both a personal and national style. The sitter, Rico Lebrun, in this portrait was a close friend of Goldthwaite and worked at the Art Student League with her as an artist instructor while she also taught at that institution. Like in this portrait, she often painted portraits of her close friends and other subjects respectfully, especially of Black American life in the South. Goldthwaite focuses on a controlled color scheme, loose brushwork, and the sitter's presence in this particular portrait. Her use of color renders the sitter as animated, yet with the color brown dominating the picture plane and brownish white tones being subsidiary to the dominant brown. The sitter also reads as serious and dignified. Formally, the triangle of primary colors to the right of the picture plane engages our eye with all parts of the composition. The yellow in the background, the red on the sitter, and the blue in the foreground. Goldthwaite's loose brushwork evokes a lightness to the subject, and illuminating his face in the foreground while darkening the background beyond the window plane creates a setting, or better, a habitat for us, the viewer, to know the sitter. All of this visual rhetoric seeks to portray her subject with respect. This portrait also suggests the gender dynamic traditionally rendered in portraiture and the emerging shift in the art world away from gendered aesthetic worth that links artistic skill with expertise and a detached scientific vision, and towards giving art dimensionality and depth to any sitter in a portrait. As an advocate and activist of women's suffrage, Goldthwaite likely confronts those considerations in this portrait of her male friend as a woman portraitist capturing him. Goldthwaite in this painting demonstrates the direction American art takes at the turn of the 20th century. In this style, she cultivated a unique hand, yet she maintained a range in terms of subject matter. Within the broader context of her work, her homage to mostly rural southern landscapes and genre paintings not only characterize her work as regionalist, but also as modernist, given the sentimental folk quality of her work of art and her attention to realism. It reflects the concern in an increasingly modernizing society and the developing identity of American art. According to an art critic for the New York Times in 1915 on Goldthwait, it's interesting to know the history of a painter, at once so conservative and so aggressive, a painter so steeped in modernity and so respectful of classic ideals. Such a sentiment characterizes the influence of Goldthwait's work as contributing to a strong, unique style within the canon of American art. Collections at major institutions like the Met, the Brooklyn Museum, and the Getty, as well as collections of private ones such as the Johnson Collection and the Phillips Collection, all include Goldthwait's prolific work. Thank you. Are there any questions? I did.
You did, and as an art history, what makes it unique, or what makes it stand out for you that you choose this painting?
Honestly, it was more or less the artist herself. Goldthwait is a native of, well, she was born in Montgomery, Alabama. I grew up there, and I feel like often Southern artists aren't really featured that much. So I just thought that I would showcase her work and how successful she was. The Armory show that I mentioned in 1913 was one of the biggest art exhibitions of the 20th century, and her work was featured in it. And so I just thought I would, showcase. And this one in particular because, like they said earlier, like the sitter is kind of striking. So. Any other? Goldthwaite. Goldthwait.
Had you had been interested in her in the past, or did you learn about her in this class?
I learned about her actually when we were going through all of the American art that we have in our collection here, and I think it was Dr. Burns who mentioned that she was from Montgomery, and that kind of sparked. And she also has a really nice landscape that we have here too.